We are up. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Dark Council podcast once again with me and Jake is the freelancer once again. And y'all know what we're doing today, so we don't gotta even hit the hint buttons anymore. Though we will at the end of this episode. So, if we don't actually...
We all know what we're doing.
We all know what we're doing. We're here for Star Wars Chuck Norris today. It's KATARN baby.
I thought you were about to say Cowboy Katarn, and I was about to be, you know what, that's fair.
I mean,
okay with Cowboy Katarn?
I mean, I could have very much done it. We could have done it. I didn't even think about that one. I wish I did. That would have been great.
Oh, I heard the first part of Kyle. My mind audibly was like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna say Cowboy Katarn."
Yeah.
Oh fuck!
Hang on. Alright. Yeah, we're going to be playing with the idea we're going to be doing Katarn's discussion for today. The infamous Star Wars Chuck Norris. We were gonna do him last week, but I started getting notes down for him. I'm like, oh hell, this man has a lot of history behind him. Because what I failed to remember was that, it was small when I actually went back and actually got the notes for it. This man has lived throughout the entirety of the Rise of the Empire and well into the Abeloth Crisis.
Yeah.
This man has had a storied history to him. And storied it is, because some of the moments I will actually go into to more detail than I would for like characters like Sunterfell. Because some of those actually require a bit of that detail. So I will be taking a lot of the notes and points revolving around the focuses of big pivotal points like moments during the Dark Forces 2 video game when he's pursuing the High Inquisitor Jarek. As well as later on in I forget what the third game. I forget what the one before Outcast is. What's the one before Outcast? Hang on.
I think that's just that's Dark Jedi Knight.
And I can pull up my Steam real quick to look at, because I've got the whole library on my list. It's Mysteries of the Sith. That's the one.
Mysteries of the Sith, there it is.
Mysteries of the Sith is the one after that, because that's where he starts training Mara Jade and goes on to fight Desan. Which also I think happens in Outcast. I believe part of that I believe that's actually split over those two games.
Outcast is where he kills Desan.
Yeah, Outcast is where he kills Desan, but Mysteries of the Sith is where he's kind of like involved with parts of Shadow Hand.
Yeah, Desan is, I want to say, like an apprentice to a Sith Master in that one. Kyle Katarn kills the Sith Master, Desan gets away. Desan then returns in Jedi Outcast as the main boss.
So, little note I'm actually going to make note of. Desan was actually a fallen Jedi.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm aware, he was basically running the show for that one.
Was he?
Because
I thought it was that weird guy with the face paint. The bald guy with the face paint.
Lord Chronal is the one in that one? I don't remember. We'll get to fucking talk about it during this, though, so we'll remember. We'll learn. We'll remember. We'll remember. So let's get into our summary. So Kyle Katarn, otherwise known as Star Wars' Chuck Norris, was born on 23 BBY on the planet of Sulon, a moon that orbits the planet Sullust. Born to Morgan and Patricia Katarn, he would eventually go on to train in the Empire, defect to the Rebellion, and would later go in to serve as a rebel intelligence agent, the one primarily responsible for being part of the reason the rebels have the Death Star plans. And with the destruction of and following all of the events of that, he would go on to eventually become a Jedi himself, facing off against the Dark Jedi High Inquisitor Jarek and his minions, overcoming the dark side when investigating a ancient temple on Droman Kos with the help of his apprentice and the former hand of the Emperor, as well as later wife of his master, Luke Skywalker. He would help to boost the uh, he would also they would be able to turn back to being a Jedi after a brief stint of falling to the dark side. He would also later go on to best the Dark Jedi Dasan and end the Shadow Trooper program, as well as becoming a Jedi Master and a High Council member in Luke's Jedi Order, seeing conflict well after the Vong War and the Darkness Crisis. So that's our little summary.
Dude's dope. I fucking love Kyle Katarn.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fairly decent topic. Like I said, I don't know how long we'll actually have going on for this one, because I tried to compartmentalize this one as much as I could. So we're gonna see if we may be stretching this episode out a little bit, or if this has to be a two-parter. So let's get into his early life. I know we're gonna be on and off talking about him the entire time, seeing as we've both played the Jedi Knight games. We're very much going to have a experience of remembering parts of these from the story of the Jedi Knight games. Let's get into his early life. As I said before, Kyle Katarn was born the son of Morgan and Patricia Katarn. They were raised as farmers from the Sullust colony moon of Sulon in 23 BBY. He was raised primarily by his father after a malfunctioning BT-16 perimeter security droid had killed his mother, leaving the family devastated and having to struggle without her as part of the extra hands to work. He played with tiny robotic soldiers made by his father, and also found a brother of sorts in his father's custom-made labor droid, Ouija, with whom
Not Ouija. Mario. Mario.
Mario.
Mario. Mario?
Mario.
Oh my god.
With whom they actually could communicate with. He spent a lot of time in their workshop repairing and assembling machines alongside his father. The act together actually forming a closer bond between the two. He was fascinated with his father's tools and what he could make with them. Since the age of 12, he had become adept at working on Ouija himself, and soon after, he could disassemble and repair anything on the homestead. As a younger kid, he would go off to play hide and seek in a canyon and cavern shortly before turning 18. The locals had begun surveying that area in order to install a G-tap, geothermal tap for short, or sometime around Around 6 BBY, Katarn made his father a present of a multi-tool with his initials engraved on the handle. Once he became of age, Kyle wished to do more for his father financially and did what most people think to do with their careers and pick up a trade. However, he would decide to instead go into the Imperial Academy, and in 5 BBY, he was shuttle bound for Karita. With a hollow recording of his last interaction with his father and an antique briar pistol, Kyle was off to the Imperial Academy on Karita to try and become an engineer.
That pistol's the best fucking thing, though.
The briar pistol
is... What do you mean antique? It's so good.
It is listed as an antique pistol.
That's insane.
It is an antique weapon, which, wild to me, but at the same time, that is probably my favorite pistol in all of Star Wars.
Dude, it's the
I don't care what anybody says.
One.
That is
followed
the
immediately
best
by the DL-44.
It is.
Briar pistol is number 1. DL-44 is number 2.
The DL-44. I don't even know if the DL-44 is one that's up there for me. I'd say it's probably a third, but I don't think it's one of the ones up there for me. I think I actually prefer. I think I actually like Lando's blaster. The X9, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
I think I actually prefer Lando's blaster a bit more. Just a sleeker little design. But I weirdly enough, for the pistols, it's one of the reasons why I like the Briar is because it has a sort of sleek design, but keeps that crazy Star Wars clunkiness to it. He would, through his time there, learned many different skills through many courses, cybernetics, piloting, and more. He'd actually come across paths with a woman named Jan Strange, who we will mention again later, many times.
Yup.
3 months before his graduation, Kyle, like many other cadets, had focused on the lethal tradition of walking the edge during their ceremonial parade. He did some research, finding out that 36 cadets had found their deaths falling from the cliffside, almost half of them marching on the right flank where he would be. During his Omega exercise, which is a live fire command exercise to determine the cadet skills under fire capability, he would see him leading a squad of stormtroopers on a raid of a rebel asteroid base. It was there that the signs of his force potential poked out, as he would start to get several premonitions which would save many cadets' lives. While on the mission, Katarn shown a concern about the unnecessary deaths of surrendering rebel agents, claiming they would be more useful as prisoners, something that annoyed his sergeant major. It was there when he met Jan Strange again, later revealed as Jan Ors. Both of them being deeply connected to each other as time would go on, they had crossed paths, being on opposite sides now. And Kyle decided to spare her life, and eventually, after securing the base, where he would have a final holdout barricaded in a rebel cafeteria, awaiting reinforcements and forced to deal with a rebel rescue force, which overwhelmed most of his men and injured him in the ensuing battle. The imps would eventually appear and rescue the surviving squad members, but after being hospitalized in the training base, Kyle would go on to achieve heroic status and exited only hours before his graduation, during which he would achieve his commission and hoped to make his father proud. Unbeknownst to him at this time, his father, being realized as not only a rebel sympathizer but also a Jedi himself, would be found and killed by the Inquisitor Jarek. During an encounter with a comrade of Kyle's, Odom, take some discussion and During this calm before the storm came, Kyle would have attracted the attention of his father's killer due to his own force sensitivity and familial connection to Morgan. This is where we start to see Kyle's wavering faith. As any good, sensible individual, any somewhat sensible individuals who have too much of a heart to them, can't manage to stomach the Empire's ways, but come to find that there is always an underlying evil in everything the Empire does that is not immediately on the surface. Kind of the reason the Empire in Legends is a bit more interesting than how they perceive them in canon.
Yeah.
As their evils are a lot more, the evils they commit are more underlying and not always as noticeable at times.
Yeah. Not as cartoony.
It's very, very like gray toned evil. There we go.
Yeah.
Eventually, once he was out in the world, Kyle learned how difficult the galaxy truly was and how much disdain he'd earn with his uniform, thanks to the streetwise education from a businessman, Lando Calrissian.
Man, Lando's got his hands in everything.
He really does.
It's crazy.
It's wild. He would go off on a cruise with several other cadets, as well as the governor of the planet he was currently on. He would meet a few individuals during his stay, and during another meetup with Jan Ors aboard the cruiser, the young Kyle would try to argue with her after a brief brawl and a sudden truce while they enjoyed the rest of the cruise, during which he name-dropped Sulon and his father. Jan realizing that Kyle was the son of one of the rebels' own leadership. When she invited him to her cabin to show him proof and explain her situation, he was shown a recording of the Battle of GTAP, the facility with which they were trying to build that geothermal tap 2. And his father leading the Sudanese populace against the Empire, who had staged the entire attack. After seeing this, he would defect from the Empire, having lost faith in the regime he believed was right so blindly. While attempting to prepare her ship for departure together, Katarn impressed the rebel intelligence agent with his technical prowess, which he had innately picked up from his time with his father and practicing in the academy. The next morning, he would receive an anonymous message from one Nathan Donner, the man whose family was actually hosting this cruise. They had been observed by a bounty hunter, and while guilty he had to betray his friend, he would stick to his conviction of leaving due to what the Empire did to his father and home. Jan's crew waited on Kyle, and after a complex escape from the cruiser, they had managed to make a somewhat clean getaway. And so, Kyle was thus branded a traitor to the Empire. He would then be taken to the rebel ship New Hope and meet with Mon Mothma, where he would learn of his father's true nature. Mon Mothma would order him to head to the city of Trid on the planet Danuta, where he would be tasked solely with acquiring plans to the Emperor's secret battle station, the Death Star. He would take on the job, and while preparing his travel, he would come into possession of the HWK 290 freighter, the Moldy Crow, which he would spend days preparing and customizing into a proper ship fit for any task.
Also a super dope ship.
Also a really good ship. He would then go on to pose as a pilot named Dan Drexel, using forged docks and taking off to Danuta. He would spend 5 days traveling and arriving, spending his first day doing recon work. He since had a strange premonition that he was followed upon entering a cafe, and didn't immediately realize it was Jan, who had been tailing the young Kyle. He would try to find ways in using an old friend of his, but would face a nightmare of being a rebel shooting up stormtroopers who all had the same friend's face under the helmet. He would go on to find a temple to seek aid and arranged a meeting between him and said friend. During a meeting at the Blue Moon, he would reunite with the individual who pointed out his newfound infamy. Kyle admitted to this and offered to forge a believable story to keep his friend safe in this event. Kyle was given info that would help him out, and after being blocked off by Major Horst of the Empire, who trapped Kyle in the South Corridor, Kyle decided to let his mind empty and let himself go, taking out several imps accurately and deftly without risk. He received word from Jan, who had been tailing him this whole time, that the Crow was en route, telling him he was not insane, but the Force was with him. Katarn would kill a baffled horse who was unsure how Katarn made it through that mess. Later, he would acquire the partial plans for the Death Star, which, combined with those stolen on Top Rar, would see the destruction of the Death Star itself. Only the first menace that the rebels and Kyle would have to face. Because following the Battle of Yavin, Katarn was sent to TAC Base to investigate the sudden and intense destruction of the rebel compound there. He would learn of the newfound Dark Trooper program, founded by the Clone Wars veteran General Rom Mock.
What a bastard.
I love that's your only response about him.
What a bastard.
Several clues led Katarn to Anawat and later to Fest, the Gromos system, and more, where he would also help to save the future Rebel Sec Force leader Crix Maydeen. Sometime while on Nar Shaddaa, where they tried to locate a nav card tied to smugglers and the Dark Trooper project, Katarn and Ors would be captured by Jabba the Hutt. And this would be where he would perform probably his most insane feat possible, where he barehanded beat several Kell Dragons.
Yeah! Oh, man!
Not only able to do this, but managed to regain the card, rescue Ors, and escape the cruiser.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so good.
It's one of the many weird fucking Chuck Norris style feats this man is capable of.
Literally walks up to a Kell Dragon. I ain't hear no bell. Pop, pop, pop.
Mink, mink, mink. No, several Kell Dragons. Not one, yeah. Several.
Yep. Just bing, bing, weave. So fucking good, dude. It's so good. Oh!
So fucking wild.
That's my favorite lore tidbit about him, is that he just fist fought Kell Dragons.
Kim, I mean, they're not fucking small creatures, by the way.
Oh.
For reference, these things are probably about the size of a large land speeder, which would be about the size of a car.
Yep.
They'd be about the size of a big SUV.
Think like an Escalade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man fist fought Escalades with teeth that jump.
It's fucked, dude. It's so fucked.
They jump, have sharp, pointy teeth. They're apex predators, and he's like, "Nah, I got these hands, though.
I got these hands."
It's so good.
Later, he would come to face the bounty hunter Boba Fett, and would survive a brawl with the infamous Mandalorian bounty hunter. Later, going on to infiltrate the Executor and obtain the final pieces of the Dark Trooper puzzle. He would then board and infiltrate the factory ship Arkhammer, where he would confront the General Rom Mock aboard the ship, having adorned himself in Phase 3 Dark Trooper armor. A fight between the two would end with Mock's demise and the end of the Dark Troopers' mass production to the wider Empire. As a reward for this whole affair, Kyle would earn the Star of Alderaan as a Medal of Honor for his deeds in the operation. Kyle would go on to serve several smaller runs for the rebellion before the Battle of Endor, like when he would help save Jan after her cover was blown, trying to off an Imperial who was the head of the School of Torturers. Could not have come up with any more of an evil ass name.
Yup.
Kyle would also go on to serve as part of a Spec Force group assembled by the ex-Jedi Knight Corran Shelve, in which he teamed up with other Force sensitives Shira Bree and Erling Treadwar to sabotage the super laser of the second Death Star en route to Drinba 4. He also would come to deal with a smuggler who ran weapons for the Empire, having to fight their grand bodyguards and disposing of the smuggler. This point, we skip a few more years up into the time of the New Republic, following the end of the Battle of Endor with the rebels' victory and the new instatement of the government. Kyle would end up dropping his full service to the rebels and go on as a full-time freelance mercenary, serving not only the New Republic, but also doing a few odd jobs for the Imperial Remnant as well. His most notable stint of this, which begins a much longer chain, was on the smuggler's moon Nar Shaddaa.
Nar Shaddaa.
Katarn mourned his father's death and would seek his killer. Worried for Kyle, Jan Ors would try to sway him off this fixation, but he would come to know his father's killer after the administrative droid 8T88 revealed that his father's killer would be none other than the Dark Jedi and Imperial Inquisitor Jarek, the man who congratulated Kyle during his own graduation in the Imperial Academy. The droid revealed it also worked for the Dark Jedi and would have revealed that it was also working for the Dark Jedi and would have them led there to decode a holodisc they had salvaged from Kyle's home on Sulon. Upon refusal to cooperate with the droid, the droid fled the cantina with a Gran and another bounty hunter to dispose of him. Not knowing Katarn had bugged him with a tracker droid, it turned out the Gran had passed grudges against the Merc. With his Briar pistol, Katarn was able to utilize his telekinetic powers of the Force to claim his weapon back. And after a brief skirmish, he let himself free, pursuing the droid. He would chase the droid to his shuttle before shooting the arm he was waving around the holodisc with, in order to try to taunt Katarn and let it fall down into the abyss of the planet. After the droid fled, Katarn, with the help of Jan, would be able to recover the disc using the ship, and despite the whole ordeal, he would also come to suffer a grave blaster wound and concussion during the whole escapade, forcing him to spend 3 days on board the medical frigate Mercy. Thanks to his ties as a high-status agent, he would receive the best possible treatment, and during which time, Jan having visited him, she found out that while trying to learn what this holodisc was, would discover a 3D snapshot of her in his wallet, whereupon she would go to whisper out her love to him while she watched him rest in the bacta tank. During his sleep, Kyle would also come to have visions of a Jedi named Kuron, a Jedi Purge survivor that perished recently. He was told about Jarek, who murdered his father, and the connection of the two with the Valley of the Jedi, a nexus of power where the spirits of many Jedi and Sith lay trapped. Kyle was told that Kuron had been watching over Kyle for a long time, and that he was already in apprenticeship status, advising Kyle to return to his homestead on Sulon and recover the info on the disc and reach the valley. Kyle would tell Jan he would be going to his homestead on Sulon and to meet him there with the crow after it was once more available. This officially starts young, well, not young anymore, the good Kyle Katarn's venture into becoming a full-fledged Jedi. He would eventually return home and find his old droid Ouija. He would also come to find his father's message to him in the holodisc, which further in their home contained a green-bladed lightsaber, which was held by the Jedi Qi'Ron, beginning his path as a Jedi, utilizing this newfound blade. Headed to the Valley of the Jedi in order to protect it from a faction of Dark Jedi led by Jarek, the man coveting the Valley's energy to utilize for his own dark ends. Katarn's father, believed to have been killed in the battle on Sulon, had actually died at the hands of Jarek after refusing to reveal the Valley's location. However, Morgan had etched a map to the valley into the ceiling tiles of the Katarn's home that was later discovered by Jarek. Katarn once more found the administrative droid, 8T88, at the government house in the city of Baron's Head, where he had a digitized map to the valley. Katarn, in pursuit of the droid, would come to face the Dark Jedi Yun, and defeated him, but spared him after disarming him. He would chase the droid further to the fuel city and stowed away aboard Jarek's freighter, the katarn-star. Kyle would face two more Dark Jedi pupils of Jarek, Gork and Pick, who would be defeated as well. He would come to face a pet of the droid, a Hornagaunt beast named Grendel. After dismantling the droid and stealing its head, Katarn left aboard the Crow, and they would come to be pursued by a squad of TIE fighters. On their exit, thanks to the quick actions on Kyle's part to basically shoot the pilot from his ship's hatch to pop the pilot's viewport open with his blaster, they were once more in the clear.
Hell yeah.
That has got to be one of the most baller actions that I think I've ever heard somebody pull off, by the way. This man walked out onto the back of his ship, shot out the fucking pilot in the TIE fighter pursuing him to allow them to escape.
So good.
The most baller move I think I could ever have heard from Star Wars.
That man's dope. I do fucking love Kyle Katarn. He's so dope.
During the whole escapade, after the whole escapade, Jan had openly declared her affection to Kyle after celebrating their survival and achievement of their encounter. Later on, he would also come to be met by the infamous Luke Skywalker, who sought news about their quest for the Valley. It was then Kyle realized that Jan knew his personal quest all along, having borrowed the holodisc and was there to spy on him. But Jan convinced him that she had no other choice given his overall stance of secrecy. Luke would also add in that he had come to welcome Kyle Katarn as a Jedi fully and officially, due to this being the big point in time where Kyle was also going on his this would be also a time Luke would be trying to build up his big Jedi Order, so it would make sense that after encountering a Jedi so close to home, might as well bring him on as a knight, seeing as he's completed his training by this point. Managed to pull off every fucking trial the Jedi usually do, so why not? You know?
Yeah.
After leaving Sulon for the New Hope, stationed over Millargo, however, as they exited hyperspace in the system, it was near a damaged Imperial Star Destroyer and her escort. While it was launching ties against the Dreadnought, Luke suggested to engage them in order to give the Hope some time until reinforcements arrive. to which Jan objected, believing they weren't going to survive more than a couple minutes. Facing the Imperial Captain Purdy M. Trico, they would come to blows, helping in the Battle of Millargo. They would soon receive aid from the help of Han Solo and 3 New Republic fighter squadrons. The battle was ultimately victorious, and while meeting Solo and Leia Organa, they would come to explain more on the situation with Jarek and the Valley of the Jedi. With intent to head to the planet Ruusan to stop Jarek, Luke helped convince the Alliance to allow him to pursue this quest and ask Kyle to free the Jedi spirits there, stating that it would be crucial to removing Jarek's power. He had planned the entire operation and would head around to various facilities to prepare for this operation. Once acquiring the High Hauler, a freighter that was bound for Ruusan, the crew descended and would fly to the settlement that was attacked recently by the Imps. Warned by Kieran during their travel to avoid giving in to hate while heading there, Kyle picked up a primitive binary code used years ago by his father, which pointed to a certain location. There were many obstacles that occurred and some tricks that were in having to convince one Luther Party Kyle had pulled his saber to him after Party took it, claiming that he had stolen the saber and that he was in fact an Imperial spy, proving his claim of being a true Jedi and the son of Morgan. After this effort, Kyle was led to meet the native species, the Bouncers.
The Bouncers?
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know what that whole deal. Because even looking at images of them, like, what is with these people? Like, let me actually.
Who are these things?
Hang on. I'm gonna give you an image of this. Post an image of this.
Yeah.
Look at these things.
The fuck?
That's a bouncer.
They look like almost said trilby. That's not it. What are the things from Star Trek? The little fuzzy things that multiply a lot. That's what those remind me of. My God.
I know what you're talking about.
Tribbles.
Tribbles.
There it is. I'd get it.
You got it eventually. Yeah, that was my first thought when I saw them. I'm like, these fuckers are just tribbles. They're just tribbles with tails.
I'm assuming they bounce too. That's why they're called bouncers.
From the looks of it, they can also seemingly fly.
It's fucking what?
Because this is another image of them. They are very clearly flying in this image.
That they are crazy.
Weird little fucking furballs. Crazy little freaking furballs. Yeah, after this effort, he was led to meet the native species, the Bouncers, who, as they learned, met Morgan and acknowledged him as a knight. During this time, Kyle would sense the sudden arrival of an Imperial patrol, which had come to senselessly kill the Bouncers. After a surprise attack by Jan, the group took out the squad of imps and would spend the night burning the dead in carefully made graves. Kyle, on a stolen skimmer with Jan and his newfound team, departed, and they would come to find themselves at a mesa, where Kyle would come to meet with the Dark Jedi unit once more. Another moment of a change of heart coming up, where Yun decided to let the Jedi go and spared him as he had for him. The chase went on, and as Kyle went to deal with another of these many obstacles, he would lose a member of his team, Griff, who would die at the hands of a droid attack, which they worried may have alerted the imps to their presence. They would soon arrive at the valley and come to find an Imperial garrison there, built by Jarek around the valley. He spotted Jarek and another woman on a platform, Saris. He decided to make his way to the tower, insisting that Jan should remain behind. By dawn, Kyle made it to the bottom and once on the ground, hid behind rocks. He went for an opportunity and infiltrated aboard a train car. His mind full of worries over the whole ordeal, he was met by Ron, who once more was ensured that Ron and the Force were still with him. That his lack of overconfidence was actually a sign of strength. He advised him again not to give in to hate and to mention Ron's name against the half-man who was waiting for Kyle. Soon the turbolift stopped, a messenger droid entered, and Kyle exited to an empty platform, wondering who the half-man was. Then his force sense returned after its recent absence, and on the nearby landing deck, he saw the moldy crow, reeling that it had been captured. He soon had his thoughts cut as he was assaulted by the Dark Jedi, Maw, one whom Ron had cut in half, his torso alive and floating, thanks only to the Force.
Ugh. Ugh. I don't like that.
Maw's eyes were full of hatred, and he became full of wrath when Kyle mentioned Ron's name. Maw charged with great speed, and they exchanged several strikes, but then Kyle fell back down and injured Maw severely with his lightsaber as he passed above. Maw dropped his saber and fell onto the walkway. Kyle approached him, and Maw taunted him to kill him unarmed, lying how his father whimpered on his knees when he was killed, and that it was he who placed Morgan's head on a pike for all to see. The thought that killing a murdering brute would bring justice passed from Kyle's mind, who, without even realizing it, acquiesced to his anger and cut Maw's torso in two. He realized in shock what he did when he felt a dark swirling energy around him. He then came face to face with Jarek, who staged the whole event, leading Saris and Bach, another Dark Jedi, with Jan Ors, who they had managed to capture alongside the moldy crow. He congratulated Kyle on his first steps to the dark side and offered him a place at his side if he would strike Ors down. Katarn indeed felt the temptation for ambition to the point of hesitating, only to feel disgusted with himself moments later. Refusing Jarek, he was able to stay true to his father. Jarek, not surprised, blasted Kyle with dark energy and damaged part of the outpost, trapping Katarn inside the Sulon star. Katarn made his way through the tumbling vessel, which was now falling into the ravine. It attempted to reach the airlock where his ship, the Moldy Crow, was docked. Managing to escape, Kyle was met with a force vision and told of Jedi Master Tal of the Army of Light. He also experienced actions of Dark Jedi Latour, one of the members of the Brotherhood of Darkness, who created the powerful force technique known as the Thought Bomb with Khan.
The Thought Bomb?
The Thought Bomb.
The Thought Bomb?
Yes.
It's illegal to bomb thoughts, you know. You go to jail for that. Oh, -2.
Yeah, -2.
-2.
Using this technique, they massacred the entire valley, managing to kill every Force user there.
Oh.
Meanwhile, the three remaining Dark Jedi Kyle would come to face would in vain he would in vain fail to stop them from destroying his lightsaber. However, with the help of Yun, who would appear when they attempted to confront Kyle, he had come to decide to help him. He would be he would attempt to fend off the three other dark apprentices of Jarek and would actually fall during this attempt to save him. When finally able to recover his strength, Kyle would claim Yun's saber and attack the Dark Jedi Saris, who wounded him and would be killed by her with the technique of Jedi Master Tal. The a saber technique known as flowing water cut, piercing through Saris's chest and killing her. He would come to arrive at the valley entrance and would appear to rescue Jan, which he would face the Dark Jedi Bach, a dual-wielding lightsaber user who, while self-taught, was able to be overwhelmed thanks to the help of Jan and the reminders from Qi'Ron about using Tal's knowledge. Katarn had allowed himself to give into the dark side once again, using the dark side technique known as Spear of Midnight Black.
Sounds edgy.
The dark side technique, so that's kind of...
Yep. I mean,
using this technique, he would come to strike down Bach, and worrying he had truly fallen, he had managed to convince himself through his own rationale that he was a true Jedi, managing to pull himself from the darkness, having not fully given in. That I think is probably a big feat most Jedi should actually give themselves more credit for. Tapping into that power and being able to pull back without fully giving in is pretty much a big feat and necessity in order to even become a Jedi Master. Let alone just a Jedi Knight. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's just a necessary idea to be able to do that. So I get his rationale, despite how in the moment absurd it may have been. Katarn, having bested all of Jarek's Dark Jedi, would come to face him in a final duel in the valley. The two would duel off, and using a lightsaber technique that disrupted Jarek, he tried to convince Katarn to turn once more. And after being given the same mercy he gave Yun, Jarek would have been felled after a quick attempt to kill Kyle and a swift counter-strike which felled the Dark Jedi. Through his death, Kyle had freed the spirits and would later return to carve statues of Qi'Ron and his father into the valley. This would be where Kyle returns to officially start working as not only a full New Republic agent, but also starting his path as a Jedi. So this is probably the point where I can start pretty much safely assuring that we are probably well past any worry of this episode actually taking as long, because we're through most of the meaty bits that I was worried about. So I think we should actually be on track for our usual time frame.
Oh.
We may not actually have. So it doesn't look like we're going to have to spread this one out. So that works out amazingly, actually.
Nice.
Katarn returned to working with Ors for the New Republic and worked with various agents such as Bay, Dash Rendar, and Guri on a insertion mission to the Toph Fortress world, Saijo, nearly razing the Quen space station while apprehending the Ketan spy Derrida with the help of a pint-sized lagomorph. Katarn also served with Lieutenant Judder Page's Katarn commandos, executing missions on various worlds like Kashyyyk, Baudelaise, and Garros IV. Luke had once more offered further to train Kyle, but would be refused, fearing his tie to the dark side. At the height of the Imperial Civil War, a clone of Palpatine arranged for the capture of Mara Jade, former Emperor's hand who had left service and cut herself off from the Empire following the Thrawn campaign. Jade was intercepted on a mission to the Sennic sector by Lord Cronal and would be rescued by Kyle Katarn there. Mara later would undergo proper training in the Force with Kyle. During this period, the pair moved to Altair 5 to support the New Republic base there. While sabotaging an Imperial assault, Kyle learned of a lead to the Sith ruins of their ancient capital world, Dromund Kaas. A planet we just got done with.
That place. I know all about Dromund Kaas.
We know all about that shithole.
Oh.
The world actually being a long dead world now, by the way.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, I wonder how that happened.
Yeah, I don't know. Seems wild.
Katarn would later investigate the ruins and would eventually come under the influence of the dark side, being forced to duel his Padawan Mara Jade. She ceased the fight in an attempt to risk her life to make him see reason. This worked, at which Katarn had fully allowed himself to return once more. Following this stint, he would be given a second offer by Luke Skywalker in order to train under him at his Jedi Praxium on Yavin 4. Katarn reconstructed Yun Saber and would also become friends with the former Rogue Squadron ace and hero, Corran Horn. When both unfortunately fell to the dark side, Katarn's fear of succumbing multiplied. He gave up his connection to the Force and would leave his lightsaber to Luke, returning to his life as a mercenary, eventually resuming aid as Jan's partner again and taking on unofficial missions for the New Republic. Now, this, I believe, is actually where the second game. I believe this is actually where Outcasts would pick up.
That sounds about right.
Or sometime after this upcoming event. During the next year, Kyle would go on a mission to Tatooine to find out about an Imperial recruitment operation there and find the ringleader who would later be found out tied to the Reborn Empire. He was soon tied into the affairs of the Dark Empire's Operation Shadowhand. Arriving on Kajim to find an interrogation officer, he would find a store of strange crystals, later discovered to be Jedi lightsaber crystals. Kyle bailing on the job there due to his displeasure at being connected to ops involving the Force, wanting to distance himself from the very concept of it. He would later come under attack by the Admiral Gallic Fire, who was using saber crystals to infuse non-Force sensitives with Force potential. Okay, this one I think may actually still be Secret to the Sith. I think this one is Secret to the Sith, but...
Yeah. Fuck, dude. That's like the blurry point between, almost.
Because I know where it picks up, but I also remember the weird, like, operation they go into, where they go in on an operation to investigate some strange facility. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how Outcast starts. Jedi Outcast starts with you investigating this facility after Katarn left the Order. But I don't know if Gallic Fire was part of that whole affair, or if this is when we actually start, when we actually end that. I don't remember. It's that weird blur point, like you said. But anyway, although successful in infiltrating and shutting down the outpost, Oris would be captured and apparently killed by the Dark Jedi Desan and his student Tavian Axmis on the planet Artus Prime.
That's Outcast.
That's definitely Outcast. Angered by Or's death, Katarn reforged his Force connection and reacquired his lightsaber after learning Desan was a failed student of Luke's. He was forced to work with Skywalker, and they set out together to bring Desan to justice. While Luke went to the Valley of the Jedi, Kyle tracked him to Relo Barak on Nar Shaddaa, where they encountered Calrissian, who managed to help him kill Barak. Still haunted by his partner's death, Kyle eventually got his chance at revenge when traveling to Bespin, where he would confront the apprentice of Desan, Tavian. She informed Katarn of his blunder in revealing the location of the valley to herself and her master, and would be defeated by Katarn in a lightsaber duel. Katarn used the Force to threaten her and would come to learn that not only would she reveal her master's plan, but that the part that struck a chord most with him was the revelation of Jan Ors being alive. Tavian fled after being spared, plotting for revenge against him for sparing her. Seems to be a typical trend for everybody except Yun.
Yep.
Jarek tried to fucking stab him in the back after being spared. Tavian decides to plot his entire downfall after being spared. Weird trend.
It's crazy how this happened.
Crazy. Kyle boarded the Doom Giver, Desan's ship, in order to rescue Ors, and would come to find Skywalker there as well. He learned of the purpose behind the crystals he discovered on Kajem, and would find out Desan's troops had reached the Valley of the Jedi. He freed Jan and revealed Desan's fascination with the Jedi Praxium, and Katarn soon realized where their ship was heading. Duo disabled the ship's shield generator and allowed Rogue Squadron to destroy the vessel. At the same time, Katarn was able to prevent the mad scientist, Galak Fire, from assuming the Imperial throne. The pair of Kyle and Oris departing with a kiss, Kyle made his way to face Desan on the Jedi Praxium, where he bested many legions of new stormtroopers and Reborn, the name for these influenced Force users.
Yep.
Eventually, Katarn would face Desan inside the Academy and defeated the Dark Jedi. After receiving praise from Skywalker, he was offered one last chance to return. He would decline the offer only as a temporary thing, allowing him and Jan to celebrate their reunion and giving him time to come to terms with his new life. Eventually, he would return to the Academy fully, and after some encounter with a group of Night Sisters and some remnants of Desan's Reborn, Katarn had returned officially as an instructor of the Jedi Praxium alongside Luke and others, becoming a proper Jedi Master.
Congrats.
And following Desan's defeat, Luke and Kyle would begin to grow the Academy into a true, academy. Katarn took on two students, Jaden Core and Rosh Pennin, to train the ways of the Jedi. Enter Jedi Academy phase. The one that I think most people are actually probably the most familiar with. I think that's probably the game most people... I think this and Outcast are probably the two Jedi Knight games most people will be able to remember to some capacity.
Yep. Hot take. I liked Outcast more than I liked Academy.
Really?
Yep.
I actually know more people that prefer Academy.
Oh yeah, I know. Here's the thing. Lightsabers are cool. I like guns.
I mean, you get guns in you get to use guns still in the other one.
Yeah, but in Academy, they're not nearly as good as the lightsaber.
Yeah, especially since you just start with the saber.
Exactly. When I played multiplayer for Outcast, it was way more fun because it was just guns. You're like, oh, this is just... And every now and then you'd have a dude run around with a lightsaber. You're like, oh, that guy's a problem. He's got to go.
I wish that was the mentality people had in Space Marine with the fucking bulwarks. Yeah. This dude's got the shield and this dude's got the fucking big shield. He's got to die. Get this motherfucker right here.
This man's got to go.
This man's got to go. He is going to be the entire reason we lose this. But, entering into the Jedi Academy period, he would train both of them in the ways of the Jedi, both being very talented and progressing quickly. They would come to face off a cult of Dark Jedi, together known as the Disciples of Ragnos. The three would go after many prime Imperial installations, like Vader's castle on Biss, an old Jedi fortress on Vajun, and they would also find the leader of this operation when investigating activity on the planet Hoth, Tavian Aximus, the the once spared Dark Jedi apprentice of Desan. Soon after, they learned of Kyle's Padawan Rosh having fallen to the dark side after being kidnapped by the disciples of Ragnos. Jaden and Kyle swayed Rosh back after saving him on Taspir 3. Jaden would face Alora, a member of Tavian's entourage, and later headed to aid Kyle and Luke on Korriban, where the disciples of Ragnos attempted to resurrect the ancient Sith Marka Ragnos. With the duo forcing Tavian's plot to fail, Jaden Kor had, with his master's aid and training, caused the disciples of Ragnos to be disbanded.
Imagine playing light side Jaden. Couldn't be me. Imagine not just killing Rosh immediately.
Imagine playing a Jaden that is not one of the alien options.
Oh my god, if you play a human Jaden, get out. You don't deserve to play the game.
You're not playing Keldor, who are you?
Dude, I played Rodian. Just because I thought it was funny.
I went for Keldor. And I think a lot of people actually preferred playing Keldor Jaden, despite the fact that human Jaden is the canon pick.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be disappointed when eventually he actually gets added as a hero in Thrawn's Revenge. They're gonna have to go with the human Jaden.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about it, and neither are they. But
who cares? Just make what's more fun. Rule of cool over canon.
I think what they actually may end up doing is, I heard they said something about this, that they're gonna end up looking at giving options for Jaden in the future. Because I know Corey wanted to do Keldor Jaden. He wanted to do Keldor Jaden for his character, but but for the canonical path, it's human Jaden. What I think I don't know how they're gonna rationalize that, if they're gonna give you like a pick option or whatever, come up with different model sets or something for whatever. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. So the majority of Kyle's history kind of starts to tighten up a little more as he kind of fades into being more of a background element.
Unfortunate.
By the time of the Vong War, he had survived and would help to develop strategies against the invaders, freeing human captives of the Imperial remnant world Ord Cedra, cooperating with the Lieutenant Palin and his stormtroopers. After their victory against the Vong, Kyle trusted the Imperials to hold the invaders on a small security building. Katarn proposed to Jan during their Katarn proposed to Jan about their marriage, but she rejected his proposal of not wanting to get married because every day might be their last. And considering how bad the Vong War was, I don't blame her.
True.
Like, that was...
Would you want to die unmarried? Weird.
I think Jan in the first place was always the more pragmatic, but also the free spirit. So I don't think she was the type that was ever going to want to get hitched like that anyway.
That's true.
She always came off as that type, so that I'm not going to complain there. That makes sense.
Yep.
Besides, you got to focus on killing these fucking crazy space invaders. Speaking of which, after Jan was attacked by the Vong, a warlord who Kyle faced and killed using a bomb while Jan managed to save herself with his lightsaber. We'd see them towards the end of the war With Katarn being with Katarn being one of the many Jedi to bond to seed partners for the Sokotan starships for the final battle of Coruscant. After the end of the invasion, Kyle went on to investigate a rumor that the Sith still existed due to his personal experience on Dromund Kaas. Katarn investigated and followed clues from Ord Cedra in the Alexis sector for first to Yaga Minor, and then halfway across the galaxy to the Cloak of the Sith near Rune. Katarn went missing there. His fate resembled that of Date Azur Jamin, who had been missing since early in the Vong War. It turned out Katarn had been kidnapped by Azur Jamin, who had meanwhile turned to the dark side, and Kyle succumbed once more. Mara, Jaden, and a group of Alpha Blue specialists, led by Jan Ors, tracked Katarn to Rune and freed him from Azur Jamin. Both were redeemed, and Kyle was even later appointed to the Jedi High Council. 5 years following the Vong War, Katarn had become a respected master, not afraid to voice his opinion in matters around the Jedi. He would aid in the Darkness Crisis, helping to stop the Killik Crisis from growing. Some point later on, he would go on to write the Spy Primer, an espionage guidebook. Katarn would also be involved in the Second Galactic Civil War, in which Luke's nephew, Jason Solo, had fallen to the dark side. Katarn voiced concerns of this newfound danger, and as the conflict progressed, Katarn also suggested that Leia be exiled due to her actions, which appeared contrary to the wishes of the government he continued to serve. However, Katarn was only acting as a voice of moderation and came to realize the Jedi sometimes had to act beyond the government. Take note, Disney!
Sometimes the Jedi had to be rebels.
Sometimes the needs of the few outweigh. Sometimes the needs of the many outweigh the few who bark the loudest.
No, that can't happen.
No, that can't happen.
No. Not allowed.
However, Katarn's fears were justified, as the wayward Solo would depose Chief of State Cal Omas in a massive coup to gain absolute power. Following his Padawan Mara Jade Skywalker's death, he would come to grieve along with his master Luke and fellow Jedi, but would find Jason's presence at the funeral unwelcome. After finding out Jason's identity as the Sith Lord Darth Caedus and the threats he had made, Cal would go on to undergo many attempts to take out the Sith Lord Darth Caedus. After a deadly duel that had a very mortal risk to his life, being impaled upon Jason's blade, and even after surviving that, would suffer an illness that the Kaminori would unleash on Coruscant. He would return healed, however, thanks to the help of Republic medical professionals and the Jedi healer Seagal. He would then lead a rescue attempt for the abducted Hapen Chumda Alana from Caedus's clutches. During the final battle, Katarn was among many Jedi who took part in the assault and helped to subdue the remaining Imperial Moffs after the death of Darth Caedus. During the incident of the Abeloth Crisis, following Caedus's death, Katarn was one of many composed faces of the Order trying to aid Jaina Solo and the corrupted Valen Horn. During the time of Luke's exile, Katarn had helped to affirm Kenneth Hammer as the new Grand Master. Katarn would also come to blows politically over the current Chancellor of the Galactic Alliance, Natasi Dalla, who was trying everything in her power to undermine the Jedi using the Abeloth Crisis, and many who were being corrupted by spawns of the Dark Entity. As failings of leadership from both Kenneth Hammer and Natasi Dalla were showing, neither budging on their judgments, Kyle would be among many who would push for a vote of no confidence in Kent's position as temporary Grand Master. While the campaign dragged on and on, Katarn was among the many who took the affair very seriously, and even when it ended, he would be among the first to welcome Luke back into the order, and agree to Luke's idea to move the Jedi off Coruscant completely, thus ending the story of the infamous Kyle Katarn, after this being among the few who would go on to see the formation and rise of the rebellion, and the end of both Abeloth and the Vong.
Yep, Kyle's dope. I need more Kyle.
Managed to compartmentalize that one pretty well, I think.
That was pretty good.
That was
did a good job.
Managed to get that one in about an hour. That was good.
That's good.
I know these usually end up dragging on for like 2 hours usually, so
yeah,
I think that was a pretty clean one.
That was good.
But yeah, no, Kyle is dope. Kyle is fucking awesome.
I need more Kyle Katarn.
Honestly,
I need more Kyle Katarn as he was in Legends.
Well, there's no canon version of him, so you only have the Legends version.
Yeah, I know.
But he's the only character who has not been put into canon officially.
If they make him canon, I want him to be just as cool as he was in Legends.
Oh, they've got to fucking do that.
If they make him a jobber, I'm done.
Yeah.
Never again.
Never again. That's... Messing with Kyle Katarn is like messing with Revan and Thrawn. You're messing with one of the big three in that one. Fuck with that character at all, Disney, you fucked.
Oh,
you're done.
God, dude.
You managed to...
Good.
You managed to cover yourself by making Thrawn actually worthwhile, and as he should be in Rebels. But if you fuck up either Revan or Kyle, you're done. We'll see to it.
I will personally see to your downfall, Disney.
We're coming for you, Mouse. You fuck this up.
No, I saw a thing. It was an image from what's the new game? Outlaws.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a character that looked like Kyle Katarn. And everyone's like, that better not be Kyle Katarn.
Dude, that's what I was saying. I saw it, I'm like, no way they're putting Kyle Katarn in here. There's no way. And they weren't. They weren't. It is an entirely different character. He just happens to have a very striking resemblance.
Yeah.
Like, terrifyingly striking
the
resemblance.
Hair, the clothes, the attitude, but not Kyle Katarn.
I'd actually argue he's a bit more full of himself than Kyle was. Like, Kyle obviously had a bit of an ego. Like, he was a very prideful dude. Like, when you first see him in Dark Forces, he's not exactly the open book type.
No.
The dude from Outlaws, his name's Jalen, by the way. He's the guy who organizes the big heist to actually pull off stealing, I think it was 145 million credits worth in unmarked Beskar ingots.
Oh. It's wild that Disney was like, oh, hey, look, we did Mandalorian, and now everyone knows what Beskar is, and now Beskar's the only metal.
Well, Beskar has always been one of the most valuable metals.
Yeah, but now with Disney, it's the only metal.
It's not the only metal. It's just the one people always know.
Yeah, which makes it might as well be the only metal. No longer is there Durasteel. No. That's just shitty Beskar.
So, now that we have managed to safely clear through Kyle Katarn, I think it's time we figure out our next point of reference. Because we won't be starting We after next week we won't have one on the 5th. There won't be a podcast session on the 5th. But we will come back on the 12th, and we'll be starting my Halloween segment where after next week I will be making the declaration of what the theme of my spooky month string will be. So for now, let's see.
What's the hint? What's the hint, buddy?
Looking through my list of stuff that I've got. Like I said, I've got a couple ideas already on the bank. I'm going to see which one I want to make the hint for next.
What's the hint that I won't get?
Indeed is the hint you won't get.
You will hit me with this hint, and I'll go, because that's how it always works. Dash Rendar.
No, we're not going to do a character. We're not going to do a character. Well, no, we're not going to do a character. We're not going to do a character one. I had to think of it.
We're not going to do a character. Well, no.
No, we're not going to do a character one. Though I I will note that this will be. I think it will be a. I think we'll make it about a organization again.
Okay.
So, this is a group that is prominently featured in the Clone Wars.
Keep giving me Clone Wars shit, dude.
And I say the Clone Wars not just in the TV show, but the Clone Wars as a whole.
Okay. And it is a important group?
This is a fairly important group.
Is it a race or a company?
It is a company in the sense of a military.
Okay.
It is aligned with one of the two forces of the Clone Wars.
Okay. The Trade Federation.
Nope, but they are ones that have been fought. They have ones who have fought the Trade Federation.
Okay. Is it a large group or a smaller group?
I'd say that in their infamy, they are a fairly large group. In their actual number,
Bad Batch.
No.
Damn.
You're on the money that it is in the clone vein. It is a group of clones, but it is a larger group of clones.
Does it exist only within the Clone Wars?
No. In
the
fact,
501st.
There you go.
Yeah!
We got there with the guessing game.
Yep.
We play the 20 questions until he gets it.
That's right.
So, our next episode shall be over the 501st Legion, otherwise known later in its history as Vader's Fist.
Oh.
The disgust in your tongue when you fucking heard that.
I hate the term Vader's Fist. Emperor's Hand I can get behind. Vader's Fist just sounds weird.
I mean, you have to remember that these were the specific Legion that continued to serve Vader even after his fall to the dark side.
Oh yeah,
because this
absolutely.
was Anakin's Legion.
Yeah, these were his boys.
These were his boys. So yeah, this one will be the topic for next. This will be the topic for next week, where we will discuss the 501st Legion. Probably the most infamous of all of the clone companies. The one most easily recognized, and the one probably regarded amongst most as the most popular. Well, yeah, I'd say the most popular, because most people will always flock to the 501st in their blue boy colors.
Yeah.
I think I made a joke about this when I was playing Space Marine 2. The 501st are the clonest clones that ever cloned, whereas the Ultramarines are the the most Space Marine that ever Space Marined.
That sounds about right.
They are the Star Wars version of the Blueberries, but are cooler. Well, okay. Hot take.
Okay.
After both Space Marine games, I have come to actually appreciate the Blueberries a little more. Do I think they are the best thing ever? Absolutely not. But I do think the Space Marine video games have actually helped raise my influence of the Blueberries. I think the way they are portrayed throughout that game makes me enjoy them just a wee bit more.
Understandable.
And it's mostly just because I'm hearing all the stories of the named Blueberries.
Yeah, you mean all like 300 of them because they have the most named units?
Actually, the Space Wolves actually have more named units than the Blueberries.
Get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm. Because the
Space
Wolves actually the Space Wolves actually have a big thing about naming their fucking earning names for themselves. Like their whole thing is meant to have their names go down in infamy. So that's why there's more of them recognized than any other Space Marine Legion. Because they are the ones actively trying to go out, build rapport and infamy as heroes, because that's their whole thing. They want to be recognized as the strongest warriors and the bravest heroes.
That's their shtick.
Their whole thing is songs for sagas. I think it's actually their fucking chapter rule in the game, in the tabletop. Like Song of Sagas. Because their whole thing is about stories. They want their names, they want the names of their brothers to be remembered by everyone. It's why they have such an infamous on big naming.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing when it comes to kind of the reason I like them as much as I do, because they're actually the only probably one of the only few groups of Space Marines that actually are genuinely good people. And they go out of their way doing all this craziness because they are fucking out for the action. They're in for the fame and they're in for the glory, but they're in to do what they do. It's just so that they can earn glory. But they're not terrible people like some other fucking Space Marine chapters are. Like, that's something that actually swayed me a lot to them, was learning about their stories and the months of shame.
The shame.
Where they basically, after the first battle of Armageddon, were coming to blows with a Inquisitor who tried to have everybody on Armageddon exterminated in concentration camps because because he believed them all to be tainted by chaos.
Yup.
And when the Space Wolves tried to come and defend them, the Inquisitor tried to brand them as traitors and had the Grey Knights come after them. And so the Months of Shame is not derived for the Space Wolves. It is the Grey Knights who hold it as the Months of Shame because that was their biggest L in history. Not only did the chapter master of the Space Wolves come to confront the Grand Master of the Grey Knights, in just a flick of an instant, he fucking cuts the Grand Master of the Grey Knights clean in half. On board his own fucking flagship.
Get got.
He boarded the Grandmaster's own flagship and cut him clean in half after finding out that he ordered an attack against his men. This is why you don't fuck with the Space Wolves. They will find you, and they will come for you, and they will kill you. And then you have the glorious Bjorn Fellhanded, who is big famous Dreadnought dude.
Yup.
Who is the best character in all of 40k. I don't care what anybody says, he is the best character in all of 40k. Because this is the old fucking crotchety war veteran who has been through everything from the Great Crusades all the way up to now. And they only pull his ass out of bed to get the stories out of him when they have their big parties in the Grand Hall on Fenris. And when they actually need some fuckers dealt with. Because Bjorn's the entire reason this Inquisitor fucks off anyway. Because he metaphorically and I believe quite literally slaps him over the head to make him see reason.
Yep. I'm a huge fan of Keldor Drago.
Fucking absolute nutter.
He's so cool.
Fucking absolute fucking menace. That man is a fucking weird monster.
Yup. The best.
So fucking wild, dude. Oh. Yeah, this will be our... Yeah, so we're going to have our first little break without the podcast come the 5th. Podcast streams all throughout that week of the 5th will be non-existent. I'm not going to do any streams that week. But when I come back from that week on Monday on the 7th, it is going to be non-stop Sparking Zero from the second it drops.
Sparking.
Dude, I'm so ready for that game.
Oh, dude, you've been waiting for that game forever.
Dude, I cannot tell you how long I have waited to hear about a proper sequel for the Budokai Tenkaichi series. Come to find out that its successor is going to pull off all of its fucking traits and more. Like, everything I've seen about it is exactly everything from the games of Budokai Tenkaichi and Raging Blast, wrapped into one beautiful little creation. And yep. I'm so for it. We get the fucking tournament modes back so that you can actually have proper online tournaments with people without having to wait for a fucking event. Xenoverse. Fighters.
How else are you supposed to get people into the game if it's not with an event?
You make a game that's actually worth keeping its replayability.
No, that's crazy.
On top of that, they have a custom battle mode. Not just a simple custom battle in the sense of you can modify like small settings to the match and have private lobby matches or whatever. These are whole like scripted missions you can make these are all scripted battles you can make yourself.
Hell yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna milk that for content for years. That's gonna be my...
I can milk you.
It's gonna be so good, dude. I'm so ready for it. I'm gonna be doing I'm gonna be doing the story stuff over the course of the week, and probably getting some multiplayer action in along the way. So I'm ready for it. Like, when it comes out, it's hitting the ground running with it. When I get access to it, it is just from fucking start to go. We are all in on it.
Yep.
I've been riding this hype train for I've been riding this hype train for over a year now. I'm ready. Since
I'm
they
ready.
fucking announced
I'm
this,
ready.
since they've announced this, I've been waiting for it. I'm hoping that it actually comes out really good though. So what?
I'm sure it will.
From the looks of it, excuse me. From the looks of it, it'll be really solid. I'm hoping it'll actually be. I'm hoping it'll actually be worth everything I've hoped for and more. Like, everything I've been seeing has been fire top to bottom. Because not only do they have the campaign with the standard story you can play through normally, they also have a what if timeline where you can play optional what if paths.
Dope.
You can play, so like, instead of having Piccolo help you fight Raditz, you can have Krillin go to fight Raditz with you.
That's kind of cool.
You could also have other paths like uh, Krillin being killed in the fight with Vegeta during the Saiyan Saga, being Goku's spark to Super Saiyan. There's another one I saw where you can have Vegeta actually fight Cell first in the Cell games, and instead of having the father-son Kamehameha, you get a father-son Final Flash with Trunks.
That sounds pretty dope.
There's all kinds of fucking crazy shit throughout this one. I'm so ready, dude. I've already got my team figured out because they've got the full roster revealed. Like, no characters are kept secret outside the DLC ones, and even those I can probably play a guessing game for the first one.
Yeah.
Because the first DLC that's going to drop is, because there's supposed to be 3 confirmed packs of DLC for the game. One's going to be for Superhero, which automatically I know is going to contain Cell Max, Orange Piccolo, Awakened Power Piccolo, Beast Gohan, Kid Pan, Gamma 1, and Gamma 2.
Okay.
That's the character roster I'm already confirming. I don't even need to fucking guess this one. There may be like there may be one that's missing from the final count, and it's probably just going to be Kid Pan. But that's final roster.
Isn't Kid Pan just Pan?
So it's specifically Dragon Ball Super Kid Pan, because
Oh, okay.
GT Pan is in the game as well.
That's
so they have
weird.
to differentiate the two. Remember, GT's different timeline.
Yeah.
Plus
GT's
Pan is
weird.
Plus Pan is younger than her. Pan in Superhero was younger than her appearance in GT. So, which doesn't help anything, but they have a whole bit of. They've got the GT characters sorted, so that's. I can probably figure out a few out of Dragon Ball Daima, which also comes out the first full week of October. Be launching on the 11th. Will be Dragon Ball's new series.
Nice.
So also hyping for that. Me and my dad gonna be watching that one up. It'll be a special thing for me and him to go through, because I grew up watching Dragon Ball with him. Original airings of the Buu saga I watched through with him. So we'll be getting to do that, and I'll probably be playing the game with. I'll probably be doing the game a lot with Beans, because he's getting the game too. So we'll be doing a lot of multiplayer together, fucking around with tournaments and stuff. And of course, the custom battles will get to be featured not only of me constructing them on streams, but also getting to see the actual scripted battles recorded for content later.
Hooray!
Getting to see the content of the battles that I produce as battles premiered on my channel. But my whole team I've already got figured out because they've gone with the whole. You got 5 characters for the team, like in the original games.
Mm-hmm.
The team battles, my team will consist of Cooler, Hit, Vegito, Baby Vegeta, and
I hate that.
Probably a cycle of. There's a large number, but the likely ones will be Teen Gohan and Omega Shenron. Also, when I say Baby Vegeta, I mean the villain from GT.
Okay.
Baby Vegeta is the possessed Vegeta from the Tuffle Parasite Baby.
That's fine. I got real worried you were talking about like actual infant Vegeta. I was like,
No.
No,
it's not. No, that is not what that is. No, Baby is a Baby will a Baby was a villain from was the first proper big time villain from GT.
Oh, I know.
That's the character that because I mained Baby a lot in Budokai Tenkaichi 3. He was a big spot on a lot of my teams. But the fact I've got Cooler, and the fact they were bringing Cooler in because they announced the movie characters in the last DLC. We're getting the movie characters with the only exceptions being PyCon and some of the minions, which sucks because I actually wish we had PyCon. PyCon was cool. I guess we may get him in like an extra pack later. I don't know.
Probably.
There's plenty of characters to be added in because we don't even have Super 17 in the game. They didn't add Super 17, so there's one of the big GT villains we're missing.
Yeah.
We also didn't get Nova and Ice Shinron, which bothered me. So I at least figured we'd get no.
That's stupid. Nova Shinron's like one of the coolest characters in GT.
He was. He really was.
And that's saying a lot because there was a lot of cool characters in GT. It's just the story was bad.
Yeah, GT, as TFS describes it themselves, was a story of good concepts, poor executions.
Yep. Absolutely.
That is the firmest idea to really describe GT to any individual. It is a story of mixed bag concepts of good to bad execution. Because like a lot of the filler stuff that comes up in a lot of the series has some weird smaller segments to it, and obviously it spawns the whole Heroes Legacy storyline, which bleh.
Yeah.
I personally still enjoyed a lot of GT's stuff. I don't think it was as bad as a lot of people would try to make it out to be, but is it as good as most other Dragon Ball? No. Is it good for what it tried to do? Yes. Because I still firmly believe GT's ending is probably the best ending we could have gotten.
Yeah, probably.
So I don't know. That's my weird little take on that, but we'll get to see a lot of my playthroughs of that because I'll be doing a lot of we'll get to see a lot of my Sparking Zero content, so I'll be playing through a lot of the bullshit from the games. Because with 8 different character perspective storylines, a whole host of custom battles already set up for different like challenge battles, and then going in to fuck around in the multiplayer, gonna be a lot.
Yup.
Because especially since the big 3 that'll be jam-packed for story stuff will be Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, and Gohan. Big 4 rather half of that fucking lineup's gonna be packed for those 4.
Yeah, like that.
And then you've got 3. You got the other 4 who have a much smaller stint, because the other characters who you'll get the perspectives of are Future Trunks, Frieza, Goku Black, and Jiren. Why the last 2, I don't know. Honestly, I wouldn't have gone with those. Honestly, I would have tried to do like a Budokai 3 thing of having like Krillin, Tien, Yamcha fill in some of those extra slots. Frieza, I would have been okay with. Frieza, I'm not against, especially since I know for a fact that I'm gonna like getting a hold of the Frieza stuff, because his stuff is gonna be pretty much his bits in the Namek saga, getting the bits of him throughout, getting the whole Mecha Frieza segment, his whole stint in Super during the Resurrection F arc, and then the whole bit with him in the Tournament of Power.
Yeah.
Jiren's the one that's going to be the shortest as far as I'm aware, because his is only just his battles in the Tournament of Power. So his will be the shortest to go through, so what I'll probably do is I'll just go I'll just go from Goku and work down. I'll work down that list in that order.
Yeah.
Go from Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, Future Trunks, Frieza, Goku Black, Jiren. Because once I'm past Piccolo, the entire storyline's gonna ease off. Because Future Trunks is only gonna have the Android Saga and the Goku Black arc. And Goku Black is only gonna be that arc. The Dark Future Saga, or whatever the fuck they called it. I don't remember.
One of those fucking dumb ones.
One of those fucking names. They got their own name for it. Frieza should be a fairly short one, but he'll be a bit longer, mostly because I know we'll have the Namek Saga from his perspective. We'll have the battle with him. We'll have the Mecha Frieza fight. Probably more from Trunks' perspective, probably than Frieza's.
Probably.
The Resurrection F arc, and then also getting the Tournament of Power arc. So there's gonna be fights where there's gonna be a decent amount of content, even despite that, which is why I'm also gonna do what I did with Space Marine, and do a doubles feature, do a doubled up stream. I assure you, day 1, I'm taking the day off. I will fucking swap with someone to swap out that day.
Yep. Hey, dude, fair enough. I did that when Mass Effect 2 came out.
Like, I will make sure that I am open the day of release for that. Because I will do a double feature of streams that day, and we will be trying to get through a beef of the story on the first stream, and then doing some multiplayer fucking around on the second. That way, throughout the rest of the week, I can focus on getting through the story stuff. Because all of that week, I will be doing a stream when it releases.
Yep.
Except for...
Understandable.
I'll be doing Sparking Zero up until from Monday to Friday that week. So the 7th to the 11th will be nothing but Sparking Zero streams. So which still leaves our Halloween segment for the Dark Council podcast open that Saturday.
What are we going to do for spooky season?
Which will we do indeed. And another thing for spooky season, by the way, I will be looking around for some horror games to play with friends and in playthroughs on my own during spooky month.
Ooh.
So we will see about getting some spooky games playing. I know I'm going to probably do some like Phasmophobia. I want to look into that one that I showed off. It was the one where you were like You were a bunch of like burglars in a museum or antique shop or whatever.
That one. Yep.
Yeah, I want to get a hold of that one and get a bunch of people to play with me on that. Dude, I think that one's gonna be fun. That one's gonna be fun just because of the amount of fuckery you can get up to. It's gonna be like Lethal Company and Phasmophobia mixed into one game, and I'm for it. So we'll see about a lot of that. Like I said, next week's gonna be some short streams. I've got hopefully 7 days with Cole, and then following that we've got the Sith duo where we're gonna be tackling Balmora.
Hooray!
Probably one of my favorite planets to go through. Honestly, I like Balmora because it's the one of few planets you actually get to experience the proper war of Star Wars in the Old Republic era. Because Balmora, Corellia, and Alderaan are the only planets you really see the whole like open conflict. Alderaan's boring. Corellia is fun.
Sucks.
Corellia is fun, but it's a bit of a slog.
I'm trying to remember Corellia. I don't think I remember much of it.
Corellia is the last planet you go to in the story. The last planet story you go through in SWTOR.
Gotcha. Does not ring a bell.
Because it's the first planet you go to after the full war between Jedi and Sith has officially kicked off. Because the Sith are coming to take the Republic shipyard there. It becomes a big pivotal battle moment where you and the Jedi are trying, you and the whichever group which you're fucking fighting for are trying to vie for control of the planet. Be it the Republic defending the world or the Empire trying to seize it. That's what the entire planet storyline focuses on, is actually taking Corellia.
Yeah. Which
ultimately comes up as a null and void thing when you find out about the black hole flashpoint. Because they find out, because there's a whole thing for that one, which I think the black hole is actually the first raid. It's the first raid you get to experience.
I mean, probably. I've never done any of the raids in that game.
I never did any of them either, so don't feel bad. Despite as much time as I've sunk into that game, I have never done a raid. Never got a group to do it. Never went in doing it with guilds or anything. I never got into the social aspect.
Again, I played that game mostly as a single-player game, as like a direct sequel to KOTOR 2.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. But I also play it for I also like getting the actual experience of playing the character that is in there. But we'll see more of that as we do that series. And of course, Friday next week will be more of the hut playthrough, which we actually started gaining some ground on. We got our boarding shuttles in the last bit.
Nice.
We took some of the planets we took some of the nearby planets. We actually took Moncal and Mintuine from the New Republic.
When's Kessel?
When it opens up, Jake.
Then you should work on that.
I'm working on it. I gotta fucking shore up. I need economy, Jake.
You don't need economy, you just need Kessel. No economy, only Kessel.
This is gonna be a playthrough mark on my entire fucking existence.
Yep.
So be a mark that I will never escape anytime I do a fucking Star Wars game. When's Kessel? If it's in the game. If it's in the game, when's Kessel? And even when it's not, when's Kessel?
I was about to say, it doesn't have to be in the game, just when's Kessel.
It's gonna be the fucking joke that you started because of how often it gave me fucking missions for a planet I can't even access.
Yep.
I can't believe that that's my first fucking channel meme. I can't fucking believe that.
It's such a good one, too.
It's wild that Kessel is tied to my first channel meme. I expected anything else But Wen's Kessel is apparently the one that has now been propagated by you guys. That's fucking wild to me.
Yep. You're welcome.
We're gonna fucking end it off here, because at this point we've fucking chatted out the rest of our time in. So I think it's about that time we end it off. So we'll see all of you glorious peoples next week. Tuesday for me, where I will hopefully be doing some 7 days again. Otherwise, I'll probably be doing some Stardew with Beans. Or if neither of them are available, I'm probably just going to do more HUD playthrough. And then Wednesday we'll be resuming the Sith Duo series, and Friday will be the HUD playthrough anyway, with Dark Council podcast next week being discussed over the 501st Legion.
Yeah.
So
Them good old boys.
Hope to see you all for that, and hope you all enjoy your weekend. This has been the Freelancer, signing off until next time. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.